So you've lost 15 games in a row. Your match history just looks like a red carpet or like a bloody murder scene or a strawberry fruit roll-up or just something that's just super red. And you keep telling yourself, man, if only my teammates would stop throwing my games. They're holding me back, man. If I had half decent teammates, I'd be immortal or even radiant for sure. But then all of a sudden, you hear this little light bulb flicker in your head and you have this sudden thought that maybe you've never had before. And slowly you mutter to yourself, maybe it's not my teammates' fault I'm still platinum. Maybe it's something that I'm doing wrong. Attaboy, there you go. That's the first step to becoming better at anything. I'm so proud of you. And today, that's exactly what we're going over today. Common mistakes that people are doing wrong in Valorant that are stopping them from ranking up. So to start, something that I've talked about before is how well you're using your utility. I often see duelists not using their flashes or dashes or satchels or anything to enter and make space for their team, and later they'll blame their teammates for not doing anything, but they don't create the space for their teammates to do that said anything. Let's take this Yoru that I VOD reviewed, who didn't use his flashes to enter the site. As a matter of fact, his teammates are ahead of him. His teleport isn't really going anywhere, and his utility is basically non-existent this round. Those 200 credits he spent before the round were basically wasted. He might as well have just not bought anything. And then this is when our hero ends up getting swung from someone behind generator, but had he had flashed him, his team would have had a higher chance of clearing that angle and killing that omen. I mean, granted, he needs to tell his team that he's flashing so that they can flick away from it in time. It still would have been very useful. Also, let's just pretend that he did fight the omen, kill him, but Omen's teammate was there ready to trade him. Yoru can't deny that trade because his teleport is in a terrible spot. The special thing about agents like Yoru, Jet, or Reyna is that once they get a kill, they can deny the enemy from getting a trade on their teammate. And if you're not doing that, it's basically a one-for-one trade, which isn't really that great for your team. So if he threw his teleport somewhere near their spawn, or maybe just in a safer spot, he'd have a get out of free jail card had he ever wanted to get out and deny a trade anywhere. Now really quickly, before we get into the rest of the VOD review, I just want to say that if you're looking for more guides to improve your gameplay, we have those as well at Skillcapped. We have Smurf commentaries where Radiant level players talk you through their games and show you how to play any agent effectively. Or maybe if you wanted to learn how to run a default, a specific agent, or just how to get better, we can help you with that too. We also have a rank improvement guarantee, so if you don't see your rank improving, you'll get your money back. But there's literally so much value here, I find it hard that you won't improve. If you're looking for the fastest way to climb in Valorant, be sure to check out skillcapped.com, link in the description below. Okay, so something I want to talk about next is spray control. While yes, you probably don't want to be spraying, but rather tapping, sometimes you don't always find yourself in that scenario. Sometimes you kill an enemy, but his teammate is ready to trade, and you don't really have enough time for your recoil to reset. You sort of just have to keep holding left click and spray that transfer onto the next person. But that's not really what I'm going to talk about here. But I think we've all had those times where we find someone who isn't really looking at us. It's technically the easiest kill we should ever have in our lives, but we end up whiffing. Then everyone spectating you starts flaming you, calling you trash, or saying, oh, I didn't see anything, don't worry, I didn't see anything, or you'll get him next time, big guy. And then you just start having a bad time. I want you guys to take a look at this Yoru and notice how his sage isn't even looking at him. And our hero lines up the shot, but he still misses. Not only that, he can't really control the spray and it doesn't really even hit the sage. There's just a lot of times where I see people getting too antsy. They get in their head and think like, oh, I gotta kill this guy. If I don't kill this guy, this is gonna be super embarrassing. And then you're just thinking too much. You're not really doing what you normally do. You don't line up your crosshair. I mean, if you just place your crosshair on their head and then the spray, it's just that simple. So next time you're in this situation, take a deep breath, line up your crosshair, and shoot the person. And then you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. While we're on the topic of spraying, one thing that I see a ton of in every elo is that everybody just loves to spam that control key or whatever your crouch key button is. People just love to spam it. They just love to smash it. They just hold on to that crouch button and they just spray. I don't know why people do it. I mean, I do it sometimes. Your friend does it. Your mom probably does it. But people who do that, honestly, are kind of bad. So go tell your mom, hey mom, if you're crouched when you're spraying, you're literally a sitting duck. You can't strafe or duck into cover if you miss, and if the enemy just has to focus on them moving their crosshair on your body, and then it's a free kill. Because if they're not crouching, they can strafe on you and pretty much get a free kill. And then your mom's gonna thank you. So instead of crouching, what you should be doing is taking a few shots, strafing using your A and D keys, and then taking a few more shots just like that. Let your recoil reset, line up the crosshair, and take your time with your shots. Trust me when I say this, but you'll be winning a ton more gunfights as soon as you stop crouching when you shoot. If you want to practice this, honestly, unbind your crouch key, go into a deathmatch, and practice exactly what I just told you. I promise you your gunplay is going to get 10 times better. Okay, so next, I want to talk about something that you guys can relate to pretty well. So let's pretend it's a 1v1, Sova versus anyone. It's a Sova player. Sova versus any other agent. How much money do you want to bet that Sova's going to be pulling out his abilities and probably die when his bow is out? And why does every Sova main do this? Why? When they're in a clutch situation, they always think that pulling out their abilities is the best thing to do, and I see it so often. Stop it. Just stop it. Pull out your gun and just shoot the guy. Your gun does way more damage than any shock arrow is going to do. I mean, unless they're behind a corner, but you get my point. Just don't pull out your utility when you're not supposed to. This isn't just with Sova mains either, though. I see people constantly pulling out their utility when they simply don't need to or when it isn't safe. Take another look at this Yoru. He gets 2 nice kills, he pulls out his flash, and gets ready to throw his flash. Problem here is that he's throwing his flash from such an exposed angle that it costs him his life. Had he thrown the flash from a more safe angle, that Reyna is probably blind, or she has to flick away and destroy her crosshair placement, and he gives his team a much higher chance of winning the round because he probably kills the Reyna. And like I said, I see this all the time, and I'm sure this has happened to you as well. So next time you're getting ready to pull out a molly or your camera or your silver darts or anything, just think about if you're in any danger and the angles you're exposed to, and if you have enough time to lay that down. And speaking of clutch situations, something I see people do all the time is they overextend. And what I mean by that is that people love to search for kills when the bomb is planted and they already have the man advantage. I see this in Immortal lobbies, even Radiant lobbies sometimes. Let's say for example your team is going A on Icebox. Your killjoy gets the opening pick, which allows you guys to take the site and plant the bomb. But then the worst happens. You hear your 0-40 Reyna stomp across Rafter alongside her non-comming Jet, and then they both die to the enemies getting ready to retake the site. Well, guess what? Now it's a 3 versus 4 instead of a 5 versus 4. And this happens all the time. This should be a general rule of thumb to everyone. When you have the man advantage, you should be playing more safe and in groups because you're outnumbering them. It's simple. If the Reyna or Jet were smart in this situation, they'd play on site, form a crossfire with their team, and it'd be virtually an unlosable round. 5 is more than 4. It's that simple. I just always see duelists getting too greedy instead of playing on site with their team. And honestly, this is the same concept of not getting aggressive on defense when the offense keeps punishing you for it, if that makes sense. Now with all of that out of the way, one last thing that I want to talk about are timings. And this is probably the most important thing in Valorant. And what is a timing, you might be asking? Well, that's a good question. A timing is a window of opportunity that would be best for your team or yourself to make a move. They're honestly pretty something that are hard to get a feel for, and honestly takes a lot of time to start recognizing. But the more you play the game, the more you start realizing these timings. For example, if your team is about to hit a site and Silva manages to land a drone dart on somebody, that would probably be a good timing to start your execute. Or maybe your teammate hit somebody for 140, and then that could be a good time to go as well. Because that person who's 1 HP is probably trying to retreat and find a safe spot to sit in, or find a heal from their Sage or Skye. Or let's say for example that you're lurking, right? Let's say you're playing on Bind and your team is doing a B split. They got 2 long, 2 hookah, and they're making a bunch of noise. Now you're walking up shower, you've managed to find yourself all the way by the shower entrance, and you hear 2 people running away from the A site. This is another timing. You tell your team, hey guys, come back to A, come back to A. There's literally nobody here. I just heard them leave. So you start walking out, you start clearing your corners, and then your team has a free site, all from that timing that you found on the enemy. There's a bunch of different examples I can give you for timings, but here, let me show you one. So let's take another look at this VOD, and this is a common mistake that I see at all elos. The killjoy decides to use her ultimate, but if you watch, she and the rest of her team just sprints right in. So you tell me, what was the point of that ultimate? If any enemies decided to stay on site for longer than 2 seconds, they'd likely get like 3 free kills, honestly. So the timing that I talked about earlier would be about 2 seconds left in the killjoy ultimate, because then you can more safely take the site without having to worry about much. But all in all, this was all just one in-depth guide that we have on our website though. And if you want a chance at having your VOD reviewed, be sure to subscribe on our website at skillcapped.com. We also have tons of Radiant Smurf commentaries where we have Radiant players who walk you through exactly how to have the most impact possible during a game. And they're super helpful to see in real time what goes through a top tier player's head. And as you mentioned before, it's also backed by a rank improvement guarantee. And the reason we do that is because we're just that confident that our service works. And if it doesn't work, you shouldn't pay. So now what are you waiting for? You got nothing to lose. Head on over to skillcapped.com and get started on your way to that rank that you deserve. So I hope this video helped you guys recognize the mistakes that you've been making in your rank games. It honestly can be really frustrating to see your teammates do just dumb thing after dumb thing. But at the end of the day, you can only control your own gameplay. And as soon as you solely focus on your own, you'll start winning a ton more. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel down below. It really does help us out. And that's all for us. I'm Teets, and we here at Skillcapped want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.